All right, here we go. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Crescent discussion group. We are here every single Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we are also here every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I was going to say something about that. Oh, yes. Okay. We're live casting on the Global Patriot Radio Network on Blog Talk Radio. And we're also live casting here, of course, on YouTube and the other two channels of the Crescent Facebook group and the Dr. Eric Snow Facebook group. So you can go in there and view the show from any of those platforms that you want to. And yes, thank you, XYZ. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on, I think that's Twitter. I got the Twitter going thing too. Oh, by the way, the Radical Moderate, who isn't here yet, and I spent a little time yesterday working on the website. If you go to Crescent, all one word, .com or .net or .org, it'll all take you to the same place. What we've done there is we've uploaded all of the videos that we have on YouTube, and you can view them over there also. Plus, on this website, while we're working on it, we found out that we had 27,000 people have visited that website, and we've had it up for maybe a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure, but it hasn't been too terribly long that we've had it up. But to have that many people visit the site is for a while there, it wasn't even working right. And I don't know how to update things, and Lad gets busy because he's got a life. And so what we did is we spent a little time yesterday teaching me how to update things on the website. Chris Claus has published a couple articles over there, and that's kind of the intent, to get some articles published up over there, get some videos put up over there for people, and just basically to learn about why this is such an important topic for all of us. So if you can, crossingthecrescent.com, go over there and pay us a visit. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention today, which I find it really kind of hard to believe, today marks the 5th year of doing this show. So this is the 5th year. It was 2017, 2018 is when I started doing the show, the first Sunday in January. So this will be the beginning of our 5th year of doing the show. This is kind of like our anniversary show, I guess you could say. So I'm kind of proud of that we've been going for this long, and every single week it keeps growing and growing. So, but we weren't on YouTube. We weren't really on Facebook. We were just on Blog Talk Radio, and then you get a couple hundred, views or whatever there. But here on this platform with YouTube, it keeps growing and growing. So I would ask you to go there, subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos if you do like them. If you don't like them, you don't have to click like. That's fine. And they click the bell, ring the bell thing to get notifications for us over there. So this is our 5th year. Um,
Hey, Eric.
yes,
Um,
sir.
is there anything that you did to your mic in the last 5 minutes? Because before we started the show, you sounded a lot more clear than you do when you started the show. It just sounds a little bit more muffled. There you go.
Do I sound better?
Yeah, you do.
Do I look any better?
Well, you do sound better, though.
How about now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
Right.
Okay, maybe it was just a loose connection. I don't know. I get monkeying around with this thing, and you remember that guy Nima something, whatever his nuts was. Anyway, him and I had a debate, and he was talking about, oh, you and your fancy studio there with your microphone and your all this your fancy equipment, and I'm just out here in my car having this debate, and he was this thing right here cost me $17 on Amazon.com. The microphone was a Christmas gift because the microphone that I was using before sucked. So my son had pity on me one year and he bought me the microphone. I think it's like a $40 microphone. So anyway, anything and any way that you can do to complain about having these disadvantages. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Islam, of course. We're going to talk about whether it is true or it is false. Now, I have a whole slideshow presentation that I could present to show why the Quran is false. We could go through the anachronisms and clearly demonstrate that this is not something that Allah or any god or deity could inspire. We could go through all the historical inaccuracies in it. We could look at the sources for it if we wanted to. But we're not going to do that. We're going to, and when I announced this, our friend Yahya from Speaker's Corner, hello Yahya, good afternoon. Well, it'd be good evening there, sir. Said that he wanted to have a chance to come on and tell us why Islam is true. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow him to do that. We're going to engage him on this. Again, I would remind the people on the panel to be respectful of him and what he's saying. You don't have to agree with it. We'll probably say, we don't agree with you, you stink. We'll probably think that, but we're not going to say it. But what we want to do is I would like to know what's your top, we start, because I don't want to get lost in like this whole minutia, this whole avalanche where Islam is true because this happened and mountains of this, and then we're going to take them one at a time. And so what I want to do is I want to go with the top three that you have there, Yahya, if you don't mind doing that. Give me the top three, beginning with one, and we'll have a discussion. Or you can start with number three and then work your way up, however you want to do it. And demonstrate to us why Islam is true. Okay, so the first thing you would have to do is probably unmute yourself. That would help out a lot. There we go. Now I can hear you. I can hear the background there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I cannot control the account. I am
okay. Yeah, you're lagging. You're lagging. Do us a favor. Log out and then come right back in. I'll bring you right back up, I promise.
He may just have to take off his camera.
Okay.
Let me say something, and I will log out. Islam bring clarity and simplicity and quality. And
I can't understand. Can you guys understand what he's saying?
All I heard is Islam brings.
Okay, yeah, all right. So all right. So yeah, please log out and come back in. Come back in without your camera.
Let me say it again. Islam bring clarity and simplicity and equality.
Something about equality, equality,
clarity, simplicity, equality. Yeah, we got you on that one. Is
okay.
Yeah. But you need to log back out. Log back in.
All right. Log out, come back in, and we'll bring you right back up, sir. Equality, simplicity, and so on. I need to write this stuff down. You think I would be better at hearing this? Let me crank up my volume here. Where's Connie? You're supposed to tell me to crank up my volume. Chris, you were supposed to tell me to log on to Blog Talk Radio. You didn't. I took care of it though, because I'm a professional.
And turn Connie, it up, and turn it up, and turn it up in your ears.
What?
See, she told you.
And turn it up.
Right.
I did earphone.
I did. Okay, yeah. I got this. I got this.
And I agree with Yahya. Islam is simple. for a
It's
simple
simplicity,
mind.
simplicity. All right. Simplicity, equality, simplicity. What was the third thing you said?
There's a word that I would like to use, but I don't think it's the same one that he used, but unity or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with proving that Islam is true or
We
that
can-
Quran is true?
We can sum that up with just one word.
Yeah, talk is
BS.
cheap.
Just BS. You know what I mean?
Talk is cheap. They got to prove it.
Okay. Well, let's just hope that he can. You want to give him, the benefit. You always want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
You got to attack the Quran in its perfectionist.
Well, this is what we're going to do. So I have a whole slideshow. And by the way, there, Dr. Kufarphobia, how long were you on the air yesterday?
Only 4 hours.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. The last two were 5.5. So we've been online 17 hours, and we're only on halfway through chapter 3.
That's the thing. And that's when I just happened to get there right at the part where it starts talking about Imran being the mother of Mary and the sister of Moses. And I was thinking, man, this is pretty good. And then you're sitting there going, well, we're reading out of Osama Dakduk's translation. So I got that right here. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and I'll bring it up. And the whole time it's on the screen. Like, you idiot.
Well, that wasn't, and his version, the one that's up on the screen, is newer than my edition. So I'm guessing it's, yes. I learned that Osama keeps updating that.
How long have you had yours?
I've had that for years now.
And he's about to update it again.
Oh, okay.
Is he?
Yeah, he accepts. I mean, like the discussions we had, I think what is the guy's name? I know who I think it is, but what name does he give there?
Who's that?
Guy?
The Arabic speaker.
Oh, John Isaac?
John Isaac is here? Is that what you're saying?
No.
What do Muslims know?
Yeah, what do?
You mean Yahya? You mean Yahya?
That is IQ Rasuli, I think.
That's what do. He's a native.
I've interviewed him before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I did about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got a number of good books out.
No.
Let me just grab one. I can't.
No. You're definitely talking about the wrong guy. This guy isn't smart enough to even write a friggin' sentence in a book.
Let's behave now.
Well, hey.
I'm gonna call a spade a spade. I don't like the guy.
Well, like
these guys had some previous.
No, this was lifting the veil. IQ Al-Rasuli wrote "Lifting the Veil."
Yeah, I have that.
Of Muhammad and
Okay.
Islam.
Oh yeah, IQ. Yeah, no, that isn't IQ.
Yeah,
it's different.
What
guy.
do hasn't written any books.
That was who we had on. I'm pretty sure that's who What Do is.
No, I would know if he wrote any books.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah,
because he did the same thing that the guy. He said the same words and the same things. When you took your break, he went through a spiel that he did on my show.
Okay, this edition of Usama's is dated the 2011. So
that's probably mine also.
Okay, well, I didn't notice any differences, but then again, I wasn't fully engaged. I was working. I tell you, one of the things that I am working on, and it's one of these heavy lift projects, is this book right here. I've told you guys about this, Putting Jesus in His Place. And what I'm doing is I'm putting together a series of slideshows that answers this silly question that we're always asked: where does Jesus say I'm God? Worship me. And where does the Bible more specifically describe that? So what I'm doing is I'm putting together a series of slideshows that will provide proof texts that clearly demonstrate that the Bible does teach that Jesus was God incarnate, that does teach that Jesus did die on the cross, that Jesus does have all the attributes that God has. And they do it in this book. Really cool. They use an acronym. This is something that we always did in the military. We always used acronyms to remember things. And Bowman and this guy Zazuski, I can't ever get the guy's name. I'm gonna have to get a hold of David Wood. David Wood knows the guy, and learn how to pronounce it correctly. But anyway, they use the acronym HANDS, And what they do is they say, okay, if you remember hands, there's all 5 fingers, you got H, A, N, D, S. Okay. So H means Jesus shares all the honors that you would give to God, where you would glorify God. So people glorify Jesus. So Jesus shares all the honors that God has. A for attributes. So all the attributes that God has, Jesus shares. N, the names that God has, Jesus shares those same names. Deeds, all the deeds that God does, Jesus does. And seat, the same type of, like the judgment seat, the throne seat, all of these things Jesus shares with God. So if you use that acronym, you could, and you know some of these proof texts, it's easy to defeat. It's number one, it's not too tough to defeat that argument to begin with, but this gives them like this avalanche of proof texts saying, look, don't try to tell me that the Bible, you can disagree with that the Bible teaches that Jesus is God incarnate, but you can't try to sit there and honestly say that it doesn't teach that. It's just like people trying to make the argument that, well, the Bible teaches that Jesus was never crucified on the cross. Now, you can believe that Jesus was never crucified on the cross, but you cannot honestly engage intellectually with the idea that the Bible does not teach that Jesus was crucified on the cross.
It'd be kind of like the same thing that believing Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson were slave owners, just saying.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. Who did I say?
Yeah. Thomas Jefferson.
Well, yeah, sorry, Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln were slave owners.
What happened to Yahya?
He is in Spain, I believe. So his connection is like really bad. I guess the Spaniards don't have high internet connection, or maybe
is he in Spain right now? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think he still is. I don't think he's back in the UK.
I think Allah done struck down his internet.
No. You speaketh too soon. Here he is, back from the dead.
The shaitan has restored.
He's got that circle of death. So
yeah, we got the wheel of death going for him because okay, there he is. All right, yeah. Welcome back. We can see.
He still has his camera. He needs to get off the camera. We know he's a good-looking dude. Maybe that'll help with the with the bandwidth.
Yeah, he's a cute guy.
All right. Yeah. Can you hear me, sir? You can take yourself off mute. I do not have you muted, do I? I don't. Even if I do mute you, if I mute you, can you unmute yourselves? You can unmute yourselves, can't you?
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Chris. Would you say I muted you?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So,
and I want to say it's an honor to have been muted by you, Eric. It was an honor.
When did I mute you? Did that
when I was with the boss? Yeah, when I was with the boss, I just rolled.
Yeah.
You. It was an honor.
Yeah, you were. That was kind of a hot topic. We were talking about little girls, though, and that's kind of a hot topic with you, and I get it. I absolutely understand. All right, Mr. Yahya.
I hope my internet would not. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. I hope my internet would not let me down. Anyway, if it didn't work, I will get out of it. Can you hear me well now?
I can. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear because they made me turn up my earphones. So go ahead.
Fantastic. Islam brings clarity and simplicity about the oneness of God, which is the basic doctrine for mankind to worship and submit with obedience to the will of God, and the equality that we are all human, like the calm teeth and the eyes of God, no superiority between black over white, and we are all equal. And this is what Islam teach, and as well unity for all mankind to come in a good way, in a good will and good manner to worship God and love. And this is why I am open to talk with a Christian and non-believer. And the love of God, we can bring common ground to our faith. And sincerity is very, very important, because this is we do all of this in the sake of love. So we invite people to worship one God, that we are servant of God and bring it people to God. and this all bring charity, bring good manner, bring a good society, bring us all together, and no division and no hatred between us. And this is what is supposed to be, because God created us as a tribe and a nation, and the best among us is the one who called other to God.
Hey, can I ask you a question about a couple of things that you said as far as equality, unity, and sincerity? Do you think that Christianity brings the same those same things that you just articulated?
I do believe that Christianity, and I admire the Jew for their unity. I admire the Christian for their unity, and even Muslim. We are not united as we should, but this is uh, uh, the way life goes, because now all the three religion, actually, as the Prophet peace upon him said, that Islam will be divided into 73 sects, and the Christianity will be divided into 72 sects, and Judaism to 71 sects. And we are now maybe in the end of time, and we can see the division between one religion. It's vast, and
Can I have a question to Yahya? Did you just say that Christianity would be divided into 70 some different sects?
yes.
Okay, now who said that? Would it be your God that said that, or Muhammad that said that?
Prophet Muhammad, he said that
Okay. So
yeah.
then I've heard you say that there's been over 40,000 different denominations within Christianity, which would mean that there's over 40,000 different sects within Christianity. So are you right when you said that there's over 40,000, or is Muhammad right when he said that there's only 72 different sects?
To be clear and direct and honest, this hadith it mentioned 73 and 72 and 71. I don't know what based on what that was, and I'm not an expert about hadith, and I don't know who narrates the hadith. So I'm just giving an example, and we all know that Christianity, as you just confirmed, that there's too many sects and there's too many diversion in one religion. So I don't hold me responsible for that.
No, I didn't confirm anything.
Right.
The only thing
Right.
that I questioned is your misrepresentation of how many different sects there are, opposed to how many sects that your prophet said that there would be. And I pointed out that you and your prophet don't share the same number of sects, and basically you just threw the hadith under the bus. So to me, you just threw your prophet under the bus, saying that you know that there's more sects than what your prophet knew of. Thank you, though, Yahya. I'll sit back and listen.
What I said, that the hadith says talk about 71, 72, 73. Besides that, I didn't throw anyone not under the bus, not over the bus. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what we wanted to do is I wanted to get into the why is Islam true? What evidence do we have for Islam being true? Wind Hill, we're going to be live until for the next at least the next hour and a half. Okay,
Islam.
I'm just addressing somebody in chat. I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, Islam is true because Islam actually contains all the previous messages into its midst. Why I say that? Because Judaism and Christianity, then Islam come and contain and correct the previous scripture where with the truth from God. Because as we all know that the Prophet, peace upon him, he lived 40 years among his people. He didn't say anything till he started to receive the revelation from God. And for 23 years, when the revelation was finished, the prophet died as anyone else. And here we are, 1,443 years. And Islam is, as I said, bring clarity about that the Lord our God is one, which being confirmed by all the prophet and messenger. It confirmed that we are here to worship God and acknowledge the existence of God as one God, which Jesus teach that we do the will of God and submission and law of God, follow the commandment and stop following our desire and the temptation of shaitan and be obedience to God. And this is the best for all mankind.
Okay, so you're saying that the reason why Islam is true is because it confirms the previous messages of God.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if it comes to confirm the previous messages of God and contradicts, and we're talking about the Old and New Testament, the Torah and the Injil, if it is come to confirm those previous messages and it contradicts those messages, you claim that it corrects them. Am I correct on that? Where it does contradiction, it's not a contradiction; it is a correction of what was said before. Am I right?
The correction is, for example, the correction of the scriptures, because as we all know, the most important issue, that the greatest commandment is that the Lord our God is one. While we see that Jesus was sent to the lost sheep of Israel after 750 years from the departure of Moses, we
no, it's quite a bit longer than that, 1450 years. But
fair enough.
Okay, that's all right.
Our prophet come maybe 600 years after Jesus, peace upon him, and confirmed that the greatest commandment, that the Lord our God is one, and we to do the will of God. This is why Jesus said, when his mother and his brother came to find him, and they told him, your brother and your sister, he said, my brother and my sister, those who do the will of God. And this is our purpose in life. And this is why I say clarity and the oneness of God. While we have the Trinity, it is a formula that none of the previous prophet have adopt. And Jesus, he never upon him.
Let me finish.
But he's trying to explain how Islam is true, and now he's going on how the Trinity is illogical.
Okay,
what we need to do is we need to stick to the topic and see why Islam is true.
What I'm saying.
Hold on.
Just once again.
Okay, right, go ahead.
The most important, the greatest commandment, all the prophet and messenger come up with, the Lord our God is one. When Islam come to confirm that, and Christianity saying that God is one, but he is three and one, this is what bring like, as whenever I talk about the Trinity, people said it is mystery, but this is the truth. And God, there's no confusion in God. It should be clear, because we people, okay, we can read and write, but normal people.
Sorry, because you're actually not. First, one, do you understand what the Trinity actually is?
What it is one?
Because the thing is what you're saying is that you're not actually providing any evidence for your case. So what you're doing is you're just providing polemics against Christianity. You're not actually providing any evidence regarding, say, Islam. So if I was to argue, what I'm basically saying is that when we're regarding Islam, you haven't made any positive case. All you're doing is you're trying to bring straw man arguments against Christianity. The thing is, we've been Christians for years, so we essentially understand the doctrine of the Trinity better than you do. And the thing is, so you haven't actually made a positive case regarding Islam. Okay. All you've done is so say with the aspect of the regarding something like caliphate. what's the archaeological evidence regarding, say, something like the Caliphate or Islam? With Christianity, we can deal with actual physical evidence, which Islam doesn't have.
The physical evidence.
What's your actual evidence?
As the Muslim.
Okay. Now, just go ahead and start showing some evidence.
That's what we're looking for. Is just evidences. Okay. And you'd mentioned that, and the one thing that you said is that the Quran somehow confirms what came before, but yet it contradicts it. And when it contradicts it, it contradicts one of the several main core tenets of Christianity. But the one that I always go to, this is kind of the stickler for me, is the gospel message itself. What is the gospel? The gospel is the good news. The good news is what? That Jesus Christ died on a cross for our sins. So it did not come to confirm the central message of the New Testament. It's come to deny the central message of the New Testament. So I think that argument that you're using, that it came to confirm the Bible, that's kind of a specious argument, because it can be applied and misapplied several different ways.
We can simply go to Deuteronomy 13:1, and it says there.
Hold on, let Paul talk for a second. Yeah.
Okay. Deuteronomy 13:1. Give me plenty of time. So let's talk about whether it confirms anything first of all, because in order for it to confirm, Muhammad would have to be a prophet of the Jews, okay? And that would mean he'd have to abide by their law, by the Jews' rules that were given to them in the Torah. So Deuteronomy 13:1, it says, if there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, or if he spake unto you, saying, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not listen unto the words of that prophet. So that means just the concept of worshiping Allah is going against this. So you would never want to worship him. And that would be, the Jews would not be allowed to. So it says, not only that, it says this. I'm just going to finish Deuteronomy 13:3. You shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. The Lord your God proves to you, to know whether you all love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and cleave unto him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken to you to turn away from the Lord your God. So this right here, and it's Deuteronomy 13:5. So even bringing the concept of Allah in is a negation that he doesn't. It's a total negation of confirmation. I mean, it is not a confirmation. All right, this proves to this right here, written hundreds of years before Allah even came on the scene, even came about. It says right there, because you have a no name for God, that it is not a confirmation. All right, and your book actually claims that the Torah is right. So by saying that, all right, if your book is right, it's claiming, in claiming that the Torah is right, it's claiming that Muhammad is a liar. That Islam is a lie. I mean,
okay, we've made a couple of points. We've made a couple of points for Yahya to address. So I want to give him some time to go ahead and address those. Yahya, go ahead and address whatever part of that you would like. That's fine.
First, the prophet, he wasn't a dream of a dreamer. He wasn't dreamer, but he he received a revelation from God through Angel Gabriel, when for the first time he shook him and he told him, recite by the permission of your Lord. And this is what he have done. And he is not a dreamer, because a dreamer and the prophet, why would you want him to be from among the Jew, while he is the son of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, when Abraham was promised by God that all his children will be blessed. And God, it's up to God. You read the Deuteronomy. If you read, we have this already, this debate about the prophet, and I'm not going to go through it, but God chose
I think
the
you missed the
prophet.
point.
Let him finish, and then we'll let you respond, Paul.
God chose the prophet from the descendant of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, to be a light for all the Gentiles. And we know that Jesus, peace upon him, wasn't sent only to the Gentiles, because as I give in Matthew 6 and Matthew 15, 22, 28, that Jesus was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel.
Okay, but if you listen to the last commandment,
This is
the last commandment. Okay,
topic.
hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, the last commandment of Christ is go ye therefore into all nations, teaching them and baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So the greatest commandment by Christ is to go into all the world. John 3:16, for God so loved the people of Israel that he gave his only begotten son, that no. For God so loved the world. The next verse, God sent not his son in to save Israel God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save not Israel. So I understand what you're saying about, Jesus was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. This is true. This is who he preached to, and he preached to them because they would understand that, because they already had the Old Testament. If he was to go to preach that same gospel message to the Gentiles, they would have no concept of it. So this is why when we look at, why was Jesus sent to the Jews of Israel? It was because they would understand it. They would be able to go back into their scripture and see the prophecies about him, confirming what he was saying.
Hey,
okay,
guys,
so what I want to go with. Who is this?
Well,
Who's talking?
Mr. Radical Moderator, just real quick, I just want to get back to him sometime regarding the whole came to confirm the Bible. That's all.
We will. Yeah. Okay.
I just want to point out, you said Muhammad's not a dreamer, but again, this passage specifically, Deuteronomy 13:5, if you want to put that on the screen so he can see it again, please, Eric. Deuteronomy 13:5.
I read it.
It says,
you don't have
and
to show
that
me.
prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death. So it's referring to someone who mentions another God, which would be Allah. And that is right there. That is not the same God that the Jews and the Christians worship. That is a command that they should kill him. So I don't see that as any confirmation of how you could say the Quran confirms the Torah when it says right here that they should put him to death.
Can I respond?
I want to give you as much time as possible to be fair, because we got 9 people here, and 8 of them I don't think are on your side. But that's okay. I want to make sure that you have as much. So go ahead and respond to that. Or you respond to either of those, the confirmation one that I brought up and what Paula just said about Deuteronomy.
My response is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will find subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you open any Arabic Bible, and you will find it in Genesis 1:31. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Arabic is sister language to Aramaic, Jesus, peace upon him, he used to call Allah, and I will put it in the live chat, because I don't want to spend time explain it. Regarding the Prophet, peace upon him, let's talk about Islam. Let's talk about Islam and not talk about the Prophet. And I have to prove the Prophet that he is a Prophet. I want to talk about Islam, that it brings unity, charity to the poor, to the needy, to the orphan, to the family, to the society. It brings justice to the nation, bring inheritance law to include, talk about apostasy, that's no compulsion, about family law, property law, criminal law, women child custody.
Is he lagging? Is it just me? Is Yahya lagging?
He's lagging.
No, he's lagging. It's not you.
And now he's frozen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're unfrozen. Well, hold on. He's frozen. Yeah.
He just froze.
Frozen.
And he's unfrozen. Yeah. Okay. His eyes are open. And okay. I don't know. He looks like okay.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
You're
there he is.
okay. All right. Go ahead. You're unfrozen now. Can you go ahead and turn your camera off? Maybe that would save some bandwidth so you don't freeze so easily. Can you do that? There you go. Okay. All right. Try talking now. Hopefully that'll help some. Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Chapter 2, verse 20. O people, worship the Lord who created you and those before you, and you may have mercy from us.
He's still lagging.
It's lagging bad. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, man. You're lagging really bad, and we're only getting like every fourth or fifth word from you. Did he
he just disconnected.
He needs to call back when he gets to the UK.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that because
is he hanging out with Steve?
I don't know who's hanging out with Steve. Hey, Steve, I was watching you on not YouTube this morning. What was that? On Facebook this morning. And was it a Sunday school class you were teaching, or what were you teaching there?
I started a church for ex-Muslims, and that was our first service today.
Wow.
So
really?
Wow. Excellent.
Pray for us.
Praying, yes, sir.
Wow. Hey, okay, Steve, do you have like a PayPal, or do you have like a Patreon or anything that we could go to?
Yeah, I'll post it for you.
To help you, he does?
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you,
does.
man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any way that you can reach out. I mean, and you look at what you do. That's when we start looking at Hatun and having Hatun. Was it last week? Hatun? It was last week that Hatun was on here. The courage that you have to have. Not only just the spiritual courage to go out there and confront people with your face, but also in this case, a lot of it is physical courage, because Steve is not the most popular guy out there by that table he sets up every day. And so, when he's out there doing that and actually doing what he can to reach the lost, this is what Christ commands us to do, is to go out there and reach people like that. So any way that we can, via, through prayer, of course, but, financially, if you can help him out financially.
Thank you so much, man.
And if
Thank you so much.
If you ever committed stabbing and need to clean up the blood, that's the table to go to. It'll give you everything you need and send you on your way. Seriously.
Just make sure it's not on video. Yeah.
Hey, I'm waiting for Yaya to come back. I'm going to share my screen. I got something really funny to show you guys.
All right.
Cherokee Gypsum or Gypsy shared Steve Mashney's Patreon.
There we go.
Thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, now hold on a second. Are you thinking a little too much of you here, Saint Hussein? What is this, Saint? Saint Hussein. I'm just kidding. I get
all
where
that becometh
Saint just means he's a believer. Let's be honest.
There
here.
you go.
All right.
All right. Share my screen. Share my screen.
All right, Rad. Here we go. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. It's for the Rad. Here we go.
Okay. Share. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, everybody, you all can do this. This is funny. Type in pedophile in tuna.com.
Okay, focus on the pig. Focus on the pig. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
And what do you get? Search suggestion profit. When you type in pedophile, I just think that's funny.
That's from Suna.com.
Yeah. Type in pedophile, hit search, and it comes up. Do you mean search profit?
Yeah, that's just wrong in so many ways.
I like it. I think it's funny.
Yeah, I thought we saw that somewhere on a video.
I got that from David Wood. Yeah,
that's right. It was on a David Wood video where they did that.
Yeah, and you can put in their Bible, Eric, and it'll pull up Injil, Old Testament, Gospel. So they're actually being accurate in their programming.
On Sunnah.com, they do that?
Yes, sir. You could put Bible, Bible, and it'll highlight Old Testament, Injil, Bible, because it does say Bible in the Hadith. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Go ahead and give it a try. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, yesterday I was with Truth Defender, and on Sunnah.com. Well, it's not just Sunnah.com. Because the translators, when they translate something in the Quran or in the Hadith from Arabic to English, they always try to whitewash it. Like when it says to beat your wife, they say no, you're supposed to tap her lightly, or just very nicely pat her like a kitty cat or something. But we actually found something that was the opposite of that, and I was like, dude, it's just sucky translators. But in this case, what it is there's a verse in the Hadith that says that Muhammad, once a year, Jibreel used to come to him, and when Jibreel would come, the English translation says they revised the Quran. 2 times it says that, revise the Quran. But if you look at the Arabic word, it doesn't say revise. It just says that they review the Quran, But because of the sucky translation, it's so. Anyway, so I just want to share that.
Okay. All right. Well,
Take up your camera, Yahya.
Yeah, the things that would. It's kind of amazing, some of the things you type in there. Okay, Mr. Yahya, well, you muted yourself. You didn't take off the camera. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself, and can you hear us? There we go. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, now you're not lagging. All right, sir. You were talking about. I lost track of what you were talking about. So go ahead and pick up where you left off. We were talking about Deuteronomy
apostasy laws
13. Were we talking about apostasy?
No.
He said something about apostasy laws.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead and pick up where you left off.
Regarding the apostasy law, like chapter 2, verse 256, we cannot force anyone on faith. And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What does the next verse say? What does the next verse say?
I don't know. You read it for me.
I'll pull it up. Go ahead. Finish up. Yeah.
You mentioned that verse. What does the next verse say in that chapter?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Surah Al-Kahf, it say the same. Aminu aw la tu'minu. Believe or not
no, it
believe.
It doesn't say that in the Surah 256.
But let me put it on anyway.
All right. Go ahead. All right.
Kenny uses that verse in his book. I know that verse very, very well.
All right. Let's let it.
I know exactly what it says.
All right. I'm going to bring it up right now. Hold on here. What did I do here? Where did I go? Share. What did I do here? Where did I go?
What verse? So it's chapter 2. What verse?
Okay. Here it is. All right. This is
256.
256. All right, so I was on 57. All right, 56.
No compulsion.
256. Okay, there's no compulsion in religion. The right court wasn't this supposed to be like a Medinan or a Meccan verse or something? There's no compulsion in religion.
Abrogated verse.
The right. Yeah.
It's abrogated.
From the wrong. Who believes is taught. Okay, grasp. Okay, so there's no compulsion in religion. Okay. And then what did you want me to do, Dominic? Go to 257?
Yes.
Just look at the context of the actual passage. Because the thing is that it's one of the verses in the Quran that they tend to take out of context. If you read the actual context of, like, you go verses like before or afterward, you kind of see, okay, it's like verse. It's one of those ones, it's something like slay the unbelievable. It's like you've got like a major like persecution verse, like before or after that verse. I'm trying to bring it up myself.
Well, I would think that would be. I mean, this is the one that I know that would abrogated. Why do I have echo here? Okay, in this verse you have fight those who do not believe in Allah, whereas you have, and this abrogates that one. Everything in chapter 9 abrogates everything that's in chapter 2. Am I right on that, or am I wrong, or what?
Yeah, but there's also a problem because if you listen to
Yeah, so you
Muhammad,
have.
You're right.
All right. Okay, but okay. So let's go back to what you were saying. Go ahead, and guys, let's just give him as much time as he can to form a thought, and then we'll have some back and forth and be able to address that. Okay, go ahead,
What I want to talk about, what have Islam contribute to the medieval Europe. For example, the Muslim scholar has contributed a massive basic for all our science, all our aviation, all our medicine, all our mathematics, and I can name some people who, for 800 years in Spain, have bring for people, for us, the basic of everything that we are enjoying now. For example, Abu
no,
Qasim
that's not true, Yahya.
I know. I was just gonna. The thing here's what we're wanting to hear.
I will give you name. I will give you some name. Anyway, I don't have to give you name.
Okay, what we want though, here's what we want. We want to know why Islam is true. I don't want to know about its contributions, its history. I want to know why Islam is true. Just because somebody invents a lawnmower does not necessarily make their religion true. Just because somebody, invents it. But I want to know, what is it that is miraculous, whether it's in the Quran, whether it's in the life of Muhammad, that you can point to and say, this is why Islam is true. This is how I know Islam is true. I know what Islam has done throughout the centuries. I get that. And I know what arguments that you can make to say, hey, look at the contributions here. They invented the word algebra, so they've given us algebra, don't you see? I want to know why Islam is true.
Islam, if you want to take it, why is it true? Islam and Judaism believe in the oneness of God, while you Christian, with due respect, believe this one God have broken to three persons, which none of the previous prophet have adopted, which is this formula of Trinity is totally wrong, and Islam is right because Islam teach to worship only one God. And chapter 1:1-2, it explains that there's only one God, as long as exactly as Isaiah teach. The Lord our God is one and cannot be more than one. This is why Islam is true, because we do the will of God. We submit, serve, obey, and that's Jesus and all the prophets, we call them Muslim because they submit and does what God told them to do. And this is the conclusion.
Can I interject here, because I really do want to get back to the whole confirm what the Bible said. Okay, can I step in here, people?
Yeah, right. Go.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and let's see your Chrome tab. I don't need audio, and we're going to go with. Well, first of all, we're going to go with John chapter 5. This is a favorite verse that Muslims like to go to. So do you believe that the Quran confirms this verse? Okay, yeah. So Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do."
Make it bigger, Rad.
It is as big as you blind people.
Make it bigger.
How's that? How's that? That's as big as it's gonna go, dude.
Do a 200.
No, that's as big as it's gonna go. Otherwise, I won't have it on my screen.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing." Do you believe that the Quran confirms that verse?
Okay.
Yeah, it's to you. Do you believe the Quran confirms that verse? Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord.
Yes, because he got authority from the Father. Yes.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this even deeper. So let's read on here. So we are confirmed, the Quran confirms this, but only what he sees the Father doing, because it continues after the comma. For whatever the Father does, that the Son does likewise. Okay? Do you believe that the Quran confirms that verse, that whatever the Father does, the Son does as well? Do you believe
I
the
don't
Quran
think
confirms?
I don't think he's able to do whatever the Father does, because the
But that's what
Father.
the verse says. But that's what the verse says. You just
I
already
don't want
said
to.
that.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I comment with you. Carry on. I'm sorry
Okay.
for I interrupt.
All right. Well, we got to take this one step at a time. So you confirm the first part of a sentence before the comma. Truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord. You said the Quran confirms that, but then the Quran just doesn't confirm the rest of it. But let's continue on. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likely. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all that he himself, i.e., the Father, is doing. And greater works than these will show you to him, so that you will marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so also the Son gives life to whom he will. So is that confirmed in the Quran? Is that scripture confirmed in the Quran?
Yes.
So according to the Quran, the Son of God can give life to whom he is pleased to give it to whom he is willed to give it to.
Okay. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Carry on.
Okay. So that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Do you also believe that the Quran confirms that as well, that you must honor Jesus just as you honor the Father?
No.
So it doesn't confirm that, but it does confirm that the Son of God, Jesus Christ, can give life to whom he is pleased to give it to, just like the Father raises the dead. Interesting.
May I respond?
Sure, go ahead.
We all know that the Father is immortal, eternal, and invisible. He gives the Son authority to do miracle as God do miracles through him, to prove that he is a prophet of God, sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And Jesus, yeah, he has the authority from God to bring back to life whomever he wish, according to the will of God, not according to him, because Jesus' will is different from the Father will. Because when Jesus,
where does it say that? Where does it say that Jesus' will is different?
when Jesus was praying before the crucifixion, according to the Bible, he said, "Your will, not my will." That means if Jesus is God alongside the Father as another God, Jesus, there's two will. I didn't
do you believe in the crucifixion?
I didn't interrupt. Why don't you
go
let
ahead.
me finish?
Go.
Okay, those people who Jesus bring back to life, did they die again?
Okay, real quick.
I didn't understand the question.
No, I understood it. So I think it was asking me. Right. Can you share the screen again? Okay.
I want to.
Hold on.
Let me respond. You asked me a question,
before you respond, because you mentioned you honor the Father as you honor the Son. You honor the Son by doing what the Son does, because the Son has submit, obey, serve, glorify, and worship the Father. And what you are doing, you are worshiping the Son instead of the Father. And Jesus addressed all of you as the Father is the only true God, who sent Jesus as mediator between God and the people. And this is your fault, because Jesus teach that the Father is greater than the Son, and the Father is greater than all. that means all creation, because there's no equality between creation and God. God the Father,
Okay.
none is like him.
Okay, well let's examine that last statement you said. Okay, so the Father is greater than all, right? The Father shows the Son all that He's doing, including giving life to whom He is pleased to give it. Now, it doesn't say that Jesus raises the dead. It says so also the Son gives life to whom He wills. Okay, so if the Father is showing the Son all that He does, everything that He does, and the Son is able to do everything the Father does, including give life, the very thing, life, to whom he, the Son, is pleased to give it to. Does A equal B and B equals A? Okay, I mean seriously. Okay, he is claiming equality, but let me continue on with this. Okay, all right. Okay, you said that honor the Son. Okay, honor the Father through the honor of the Son means to do what Jesus is doing. Well, we can't do what Jesus is doing because we cannot give life to whom we are pleased to give it to. We cannot create things, okay, out of nothing. We cannot do everything the Father does. So that's not what that's talking about here. Here in first century Judaism, it's talking about you honor the Father. Okay, that means worship, deity, praise, all honors and praise go to Him. Okay, and but he's also saying here he's equal to that. You must honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. Now, here's the thing, Yahya. Does the Quran confirm this? This is scripture that you said that the Quran has come to confirm. But here, look at this. Whoever does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. So if you deny the Son, if you deny the Son, you're denying the Father. Wait, let me finish.
Okay,
Let me finish. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever hears my word, do you believe in this? Have you heard this word? And believes him who sent me has eternal life. He does not come into judgment, but has passed from death to life. Okay? So let me just recap a few points here. One, Jesus is saying very clearly here he is equal to the Father in attributes because the Father shows him all that he is doing. Okay? And the Son can do anything the Father is doing, including give life to whom he is pleased to give it. Secondly, you must honor the Son the same way you honor the Father. That means all praises, all honor. You know what I mean? I mean, all the things that you would give to God, you must give to the Son. Okay?
All worship.
All worship, all honor, all praises, all worship you must give to the Son. Okay, and I think my last point on this is that if the Quran came to confirm this scripture, well, first of all, how is it confirming the scripture when it denies the Son of God to begin with? Okay, and finally on this, if you believe these words, then you cannot believe the Quran. And if you do not believe these words, and instead you believe the Quran and do not believe these words, okay, then you deny the word. That's what it says. I say to you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life. You may believe in one God, but if you don't hear the word of Christ and you don't hear what he's saying in this, you don't have eternal life because you are not honoring the Son. You are not recognizing the Son to have the deity, okay, and all the attributes and all the things that go with it, okay? And you will come into judgment. And that's it.
All right, let's okay, we've got way off topic. What I want to do is what we're trying to look for here. I want to stay on top. Let's stay on topic. I want to know why the Quran is true. Now, you've mentioned that it has come to confirm the Bible. It does not confirm the Bible. It contradicts the Bible. When it comes to correct the Bible, for an example, the crucifixion, it comes to correct if Jesus was crucified or not, because it clearly states that Jesus was not crucified. How can the Quran deny one of the central tenets of Christianity, which is the death and a resurrection of Jesus Christ, and say that it comes to confirm that when there is no evidence for that, and where all the evidence that we do have actually points in the opposite direction? So what we're looking for is something here that clearly demonstrates that the Quran is indeed from God, which, I could go through a laundry list here and demonstrate that it's not. but something that demonstrates that the Quran is from God, or Muhammad was a prophet, or Islam is true. So go ahead, Yahya.
First, just a quick reference for respond. And John 5:30, 8:28, 8:40, and 12:49:50. Jesus' word is not from him. Jesus' action is not from him. Is only from God. So he is a servant of God, and God he have teach. Jesus does not know the hour, while the Father knows the hour. Jesus.
Okay, let's not go there, because I will take you to task on that. There's a reason why he said that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to Islam, please.
I have one question for Yahya.
Show us in the Quran, Yahya. Show us things in the Quran, Yahya.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I want to ask you about the Quran.
I guess you might all agree with the Quran, except the denial of the crucifixion, because only the death of Christ is the biggest problem that you have. I am right or wrong?
No, you're wrong. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Do you mind if I answer your question? I want to
now,
ask
hold
a
on,
quick
guys,
question.
Stop. Just wait. There's going to be plenty of time for this. Okay. Let's go to Dr. Kufai Farbia, and then Connie, you were jumping in there, and Isa. So let's just, guys, let's have a conversation. Okay, well, let's just have a conversation and give him equal time, because I want to give him enough time to answer these objections that we have. And of course, mine is the crucifixion. If you're going to come to confirm something that it denies, you're not coming to confirm it. You're denying what it says. But with that said, Dr. Kufarphobia, go ahead.
Okay. Earlier, he had mentioned something about Ishmael, and Muhammad comes from Ishmael. So Ishmael is the son of whom? Yahya?
You know that Ishmael is the son of Abraham.
Okay. Now, can you show me in your Quran where Allah says Ishmael is the son of Abraham?
First, the Quran is not like the Bible. He give you the genealogy and the descendant and name and everything. Quran talk and give you hint, but we all know about 96 and he's and he
is he lagging again?
Yeah, he's lagging again. Well, big time.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you something. Okay. Stop. Yeah. When are you going to be back in England? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but the reason why I'm asking.
I will on the 7th. On Thursday.
On the what?
On
this
the
week.
7th.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. 27th or this Thursday?
No, the 7th, this Thursday. 7th, on the 7th of January.
Okay. So the 7th. Okay. Can we do this next week when you're back in England so you have a better connection? Because you get going and then you start lagging, and I okay. And I want to be fair to you, and I want you to be able to say what you're going to be saying. And can you do that for me next Sunday?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, because you just lag out, and then as soon as you lag and you go, everybody's like, da. He said this and he said that, and I want to give you a fair chance to respond.
Okay. Thank you for hosting me. I'm gonna go out. Grateful. Have a nice day, everybody.
All right. Have a great day. Yeah. Have a safe travel back to the UK. God bless. Okay. Yeah. That's kind of and the thing with getting derailed into the Trinity and the Old Testament doesn't teach the Trinity. That has nothing to do with the topic. And I get you guys wanting to.
What I was doing, I was right on topic, even though you falsely accused me. No, I was trying to sit there and show him that if the Quran confirms this, the Quran cannot be true, because here very clearly Jesus saying he is equal to the Father. But the Quran doesn't confirm that, and that's kind of what he was doing a little bit, but then he quickly caught it, and then he kind of started reinterpreting it, so that's why I had to get into the reinterpretation.
But, I mean, if he's going to say that the Quran confirms the Bible and use that as some type of confirmation that Islam's true, that doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't
exactly.
I want to
confirm the Bible.
I actually, that my question was aligned with this point, actually. The point is, see, there's an interesting thing that we see in the Muslim community, which is this concept that the Bible, the Hebrew scriptures, and the Gospels are corrupted. Now, if they're corrupted, how can they be confirmed? That's the question that I'm curious about. Are they corrupted or are they confirmed?
Right.
I mean, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. So it's like, it's either confirmed or it's corrupted.
Right. It's kind of like what do they call it? The Islamic dilemma is, if the scriptures are correct, then Islam is false. And then if Islam is true, saying that the Bible is true, then Islam is false also. So it's a double-edged sword, and there's really no way to cut through that garbage that I can see anyway. Not because what does Gedalia say? Not
well, there's one way you could do it. You could say it's like it's a mystical allegory. You could take that position. But if you're taking a literary position that this is literally true and everything is clear in the text, then you can't. But if you're trying to say, well, it's all metaphorical and we don't really know what it means, but God said it, you could make that argument. But it wouldn't be a very academic one.
But now Muslims got a problem. Is the Quran eternal and for all times? Because if it's for all times, I'm reading the Quran, it's saying that the Torah and the Injil are confirmed. So does Allah not know that they've been corrupted?
To say that it comes to confirm them. Well, which Torah and which gospel did they come to confirm? Well, the one that existed at the time of Muhammad is the same one that we, it's the same one that we have today. So how can it? This is just so maddening, because you're saying, okay, well, it was corrupted. Well, why are you saying then it came to confirm, not correct, confirm that which was given before it, the Torah and the Injil, the Torah and the Gospel, and you're going to say now that you're coming to confirm a corrupted book? That it just doesn't. And the somersaults and the gymnastics that they have to go through in order to do that is just sometimes it's frustrating to watch. It's kind of like reading a Kenny Bomer book. It's just
Speaking of which, now, actually, I just wanted to say, well, here's kind of most Muslims will just say that no, the Torah and the Injil that you don't have because you guys hid it because it speaks of Muhammad, or Allah took it up and protected it because Allah is protecting the Torah and Injil in heaven from you wicked, evil Jews and Christians from corrupting it. I mean, seriously, that's why, honestly, I think the best line, honestly, and I haven't used it yet, but it was discussed in here, whenever the Muslim says, where does Jesus say, I am God, worship me? Well, in the original Injil, the Islamic Injil that you guys are hiding because you corrupted it. You don't want that information to get out, something like that. I think that'd be funny.
And may I, Eric?
Go ahead.
Okay, Sahih Muslim 2713a says that Allah revealed the Torah and the Injil, and then they put in parentheses, this is by the Islamic scholars, they put Bible, Bible. Oh, that's the book for me.
27 you said?
Yeah, Sahih Muslim 2713a. I'm giving y'all a meme on that. Just put 2713 and you'll find it. It's in Sahih Muslim.
Because what
there's a case.
I find
Do you mind if I say something real quick?
Was a red herring. Like the whole entire thing, was just an absolute red herring. He was off the fact of he was providing no positive case for Islam. He was just trying to do polemics against the Bible to simply prove his point. Absurd. So there's no positive case for the Quran. There's no positive case for even Muhammad. Because what I wanted to ask him was the fact of, I mean, what documentary evidence have you got to prove that even Muhammad is even linked to Ishmael? There's no actual genealogical records regarding Muhammad. You have no fact of him outside history. So essentially, as soon as you kind of say, okay, all of his stuff is almost like against Christianity, there's no positive case for Islam at all.
I mean, Allah doesn't even recognize that Ishmael is Abraham's son. That's terrible.
Yeah. But what? No source. No source.
I think there's something interesting too about going back to the texts themselves if they're corrupted. I think you face even a more intense theological dilemma. If these texts are corrupted, does that mean that God is kind of mischievous? Is God weak? Is God a manipulator? Those are the indicators of what that would tell me if we go down that line of reasoning that the texts are corrupted. If God revealed all these texts and these come directly from God, then if they're corrupted, that means that God is either like a mischief maker or God is weak and cannot protect God's texts. I don't think that makes any sense. That really seems to be a real theological conundrum that one faces if you go down that line. Like, it's very seriously, I would say, bad theology.
Well, the theology of the Quran is almost completely inconsistent with the theology of the Old and the New Testament. And almost in every single way, when you think about its applications, and I'm not even going to go there. Let's. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about that topic? Because we're going to beat it to death next week.
Yeah, I sent it to you in your Facebook Messenger, that 2713A. If you want to show that.
Yeah, I brought it up, but that's okay.
That's how they'll know.
Yours up here.
Oh, you brought it up. I'm sorry. I wasn't in the show at that time. I'm sorry. If you brought it up, that's fine.
I brought it up on my screen here. I just haven't showed it yet. Here it is. I brought it up over here on this monitor.
Perfect.
Whoops. On this, would you stop? Add to stream on this monitor. There we go.
Woo.
Okay, and it says, let's see, our Lord and the splinter grain. Okay, the revealer of the Torah and the Injil, which is the Bible. The Bible.
This is Muslim scholars writing Bible, so that all Muslims will know that the revealer of the Torah and the Injil is the Bible. The Torah and the Injil is Bible. They cannot contest against it. If they do, they throw their Muhammad under the bus.
Well, they do that a lot, but never admit it. Okay, so let's just Abbas, were you coming back on today or not? You and that windmill guy. When death approached Jacob, when he said to his sons, "What will you worship after me?" And they said, "Well, worship your God and the God of your fathers, Abraham." I don't know what.
I know what the point is of what he quoted. I'll explain why he put that quote. It was to address what Dr. Kufarphobia was saying. Dr. Kufarphobia is saying there's a son, right? When is Ishmael mentioned as son? What Dr. Kufarphobia was asking, if I'm correct, is he's saying in the Quran it says there's a son mentioned. The son is not explicitly mentioned as Ishmael or Ismail. So how can you argue that is Ishmael? Is that correct, Dr. Kufarphobia? Am I
no, actually my argument is
stating your statement.
If you read the Quran, 29, 27, 1949, I think 21, 71, 72, Allah is very explicit, and he says, "And to Abraham I bestowed Isaac and Jacob." Nowhere in the Quran do we find where Allah bestowed or gave Ishmael as a son to Abraham. Now, he is mentioned as a son, I think, by Abraham. But where I get the Muslims is I asked them, okay, plus also in 29, 27, 1949, and the other ones, Allah mentions that he gives prophethood to the sons of Isaac and Jacob. There's never any prophethood given to Ishmael and his and his descendants. So
Right.
Ishmael has no prophetic line. And also Allah didn't think highly enough of Ishmael to say that I gave Abraham Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob to Abraham. Nowhere in the Quran. And I find that kind of weird that Allah would be specific in telling you, listen, I gave Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as a grandson, but nowhere in the Quran does it say, and I gave Abraham Ishmael.
Okay. Well, who's this from, Windmill or Abbas? Abbas told me to bring this up. He says that, okay, read Bukhari. All right, here it is. Read Bukhari. It proves that Muhammad was a descendant of Ishmael. And it says right here, yeah, of course it does. The descendants of the prophet Ishmael.
That's proof?
Wait. No, well, hold on. No, come on. Your standard for proof and his standard for proof are two entirely different things, obviously. So hold on. Let's see here. They'd be strongest. Who's this? Aisha had a slave. Aisha, I thought it was Hagar. Aisha had a slave girl from, what is this? Had a slave girl. You can't even get this right. Aisha, the name was Hagar, by the way, from the prophet. And I'm assuming this is Abraham. Told her to malamute her as she was from the descendants of the prophet Ishmael. Okay, maybe I'm reading that wrong. Okay, so she was the descendant from Ishmael, is what it said. Okay, so I got that wrong then. What's that?
That doesn't say that Muhammad is from Ishmael. It says whoever the slave that she freed is from the prophet Ishmael. So it's referring to Ishmael as being a prophet. That doesn't say that Muhammad is from the line of Ishmael.
Okay, well, it's true.
There is a lineage mentioned. There's a lineage mentioned in Rahiq al-Makhtum, or the sealed nectar. But the thing is, there's actually a gap. It says that
it stops at Adnan.
Of Islam is a descendant of Adnan. He's a descendant of Adnan. Then there's a gap, and then there's this other genealogy that's connected to Ishmael. Yeah. So it is an interesting question. Yeah.
But why would you want to be a descendant of Ishmael? I mean, the only thing that's going to do is going to paint you into a corner outside of being a prophet because of what we find in Deuteronomy. Because you're supposed to be of the brethren of the Jews.
Well,
and if your brethren is of the Israelites at that time were the people that had been brought out of bondage, and it wasn't the Ishmaelites that were brought out of bondage. Go ahead, Red.
It's in Romans, I believe, Paul writes very clearly about the descendant of the slave woman and descendant of the free woman, and he says that the descendants of the slave woman are in bondage to sin, where the descendants of the freed son, that being Isaac, okay, are basically the hope and the promise that is yet to come. Okay,
that's Galatians.
So Galatians 4. Okay, but either way, okay, we are the descendants spiritually. We are grafted in because not everyone who is from Israel is Israel. So on and so forth. Actually, that's Romans. But we are the descendants, okay, of the freed woman, okay, where they are in bondage to the slave woman. Okay, all right. Yep. So that's kind of interesting. But here's an interesting thing. Actually, I don't know. Do we want to discuss the book yet, or no? We're going to wait off on that.
Well, I want to save this conversation that we're having right now, for next Sunday if we can. Do you guys have a problem doing that? I mean, we have some other things. Let's see. Abbas is back at it here. Hold on, let me put his thing up here because it's got to be important since he's pointed us in the right direction, right? We have revealed to you, we revealed to Noah and prophets after him, and revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, descendants, Jesus, the descendants, Jesus, Job. Now, wait a second. Job was not a descendant of a. What is wrong with you?
Right. Historically, it's sad because it doesn't even have them historically, even in any semblance of order.
So he's just more busting Islam right here. Hey, anything he can show, he's busting Islam.
Here's another interesting fact. I don't think Allah knows that Abraham had 6 other kids from Keturah.
Right. Because he was married after Sarah died. Right. He remarried.
Yeah. So the other kids of Ishmael, any of them prophets?
No, sir.
Well, they can't be because Allah doesn't know that Ishmael married Keturah after Sarah died.
Right.
And then he had 6 more kids. So he actually had eight sons.
So he's going to bring another one.
He doesn't know how to read. Okay, let me read this one. Eric Smith. And we have already sent Noah and Abraham and placed in their descendants prophethood. Okay. See, Muslims have like some kind of hearing issue. I asked, where does Allah say that he gave Ishmael to Abraham? I didn't ask about Noah and the descendants. I'm very clear when I ask a Muslim a question, so that way they can't run around and use vagueness like that verse right there.
Like a boss is doing.
That doesn't tell me that Allah says, I gave Ishmael as a son to Abraham. I can show him 29, 27, 1949, chapter 21, I think 71 and 72, and other verses where Allah is very clear. And I gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as a grandson, and I bestowed on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and made prophets from their sons. I know where
sounds like he's establishing Jacob as the next in line.
Yes,
I know, right? Yeah, they don't know. They got to go back to
the
Bible.
The coming from the Jews, ain't coming from Ishmael.
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, it just when you start trying to establish the lineage of Muhammad through Ishmael, it's an impossible task. There's nobody that's able. There was somebody on here that showed us, gave us some type of graphic one day, and it was just impossible. I mean, you have generational gaps of hundreds of years just to get there, and the names are so conspicuous that you have no way of demonstrating this. You have nothing. See, here's the problem also, is that there's nothing outside of the Ahadi literature that supports any of this. And the Ahadi literature was created over 200 years after Muhammad died. And so all of this is nothing more than oral history to begin with. And I'm not trying to diminish oral history in any way, shape, or form here, but this is something that's supposedly going back 2,600 years, and you have huge gaps in there, and we're supposed to believe it. But even if that's true, let's just pretend that it is true, that he is from a descendant of Ishmael. That disqualifies him from being a prophet, period. Because it says in Deuteronomy that it would come from their brothers, from their midst, not some nefarious, Ishmaelites. Because if you remember, it was the Ishmaelites who sold Joseph into slavery. Do you think that the Israelites had any type of desire to be friends with the Ishmaelites? No, because that division was depleted. Bad word. It was done away with 2 generations before that. So try to say that.
You bring that scholar Windhill. He sounds like a very, very astute, well-educated Muslim. I'd like to,
No, he's a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness heretic. Which one of those cults believe that God can only organize matter, or that God is a force?
Oh, he's not a Muslim, or she?
No. He's a Mormon or a JW.
Because the questions that he's asking would strike me as something that a Muslim would ask.
Right. Well,
exactly. One of the same. Because Joseph Smith was a prophet.
Exactly.
And he provided as much evidence as Muhammad did. So you got to believe that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's move on to the next section. What did you have anything to add to that, Red? I didn't mean to cut you off again.
No. I just want to get to my segment.
All right. I want everybody to know how much I actually do for you guys when we're not here live. I want you to know how much work, pain, and suffering I will do for you people at any time. And I did this as long as I possibly could on, I believe it was Friday. I took one for the team on Friday. I started reading the 2nd edition of Consider Islam by the author Imam Jaban al-Islam, the Coward of Islam, the Islamic Imam Coward of Islam. And when I started reading it, I was really amazed. So after I read the first page, and I sent him an email, and I want you to see what the email said here. I'm going to put this up here on the screen.
Oh, wait. You got to read the part. No, he says in the introduction. Now, mind you, this is something he sent to an editor.
All right.
And this is the second edition. All right. Pull that up if you can.
Okay, here it is.
This is the funniest thing.
Where did it go? It's supposed to be coming up. For some reason, nope, here we go. All right. So I was reading this. Now, if you go to Kindle, if you have Kindle Unlimited like I do, you can read all kinds of books online. It's $10 a month. So I went to the introduction. Now, this is the first page that has writing on it. Okay, so this is the introduction. So when I say in my email, starting on page 1, there's problems. But he starts lamenting right here. Listen to this. The effects of political manipulation of the masses through the use of propaganda are evident. And he's complaining about Donald Trump passing a law or an executive order to protect national monuments. And the one monument that he's mentioning here is Mount Rushmore. So figures of the prejudiced. Okay, so the historical figures known for their prejudiced views were being destroyed or removed due to protests. They were burning down cities, pulling down statues, just trying to destroy our heritage by thinking that by pulling down statues, they could do this. So Trump says, hey, guys, knock it off. You're a bunch of ingrated people who hate your own country. So the president of the United States issued a subliminal call to arms. Notice this. He doesn't, you notice the language here that he used. Now, this is supposed to get people to gravitate to Islam. This is what he's doing here. But no, if you look at the language, I mean, the language
this is
in
propaganda.
Here exactly is what it is. Yeah. Supporters by holding a 4th of July gathering at the base of Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. Now, look what he says about Rushmore. Mount Rushmore is known for the gigantic sculptures depicting U.S. Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt, all of whom were slave owners. Now, does anybody here, besides this Kaffir, because I taught history for years. Did anybody?
I taught it for 20 years, and I'm still laughing at that statement.
Okay. Did you read anything about Theodore Roosevelt owning slaves?
I was just going to say, that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, that was a cousin of mine, and I consider that a personal insult.
Because he was, okay, so he was born in 1859. So if he was going to own slaves, he would have had to own slaves by the age of 6, because that's when they actually banned slavery. But let's look at what this email that I sent him, because I wanted to ask him about this. All right, here's the email that I sent him. I said TDR owned slaves, and also he mentioned Lincoln owned slaves too, but we're just going to leave the details out of there. He was born in 1859. Slavery was banned in 1865. Please explain and cite your scholarship. It's pathetic. Of course, I'm going to tell him that because he doesn't, because he always gets insulted when you say that his scholarship is less than stellar. Okay, now look what he writes here. The first thing he does is you got your comment about the 4 presidents from page 10. Not page 1, Brainiac. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is you got to insult me. It's on the first page of your introduction, but he's got to insult you. So he starts insulting.
So this makes it all better.
Yeah, okay. So that gives him some type of legitimacy. TDR was a racist with slave-owning parents. Oh, okay, so now the language is a little bit different. It isn't that TDR owned slaves, but now we're a little on his mother's side. All right. And then look at what he says here. This is a joke. He said slavery did not truly end with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. No kidding. I mean, anybody see? Here's when you
it
start
ended with the Constitutional Amendment. What an idiot! Go ahead.
Right. But here's where
you might argue it with sharecropping and stuff and Jim Crow. Like you could make an argument for that, but it's a different situation.
His was explicit here. He's trying to tell me that slavery didn't end with the Emancipation Proclamation. No kidding. You don't think people don't know this? The only thing the Emancipation Proclamation did was it freed those slaves that were in those states that were in rebellion against the Union, not the border states, Missouri, Kentucky, what was the other one? Delaware and West Virginia was one. Missouri, Kentucky. There was 4 of them. Delaware and Maryland. There we go. 4 border states. It did not free them in those states. Why? Because those slaves in those states were not being used in war against the Union. Lincoln could not, as president, free the slaves. Why? Because just a couple years prior to that, they had a little trial called Dred Scott versus Sanford. Oh, you guys remember that one, right? Where it says that slavery is indeed constitutional. So in order to get rid of it, you have to pass a constitutional amendment. But Lincoln is saying, look, those states that are in rebellion against the Union, they're using their slaves for transportation purposes, to dig fortifications, to bury their dead, to prepare food. All of these things that you need soldiers to do, they're using for logistical purposes. So what we're going to do when we take over those states, all those slaves that are being used for those purposes or that reside in those states, they're going to be free. We're freeing them. Second thing is what he says. Look at what he says here. This is how stupid a man he is. And as a history, or what does it say? Southern states had to, where were we at? The Emancipation Program. Nor did it really end in 1865. Okay, Einstein, let me tell you something. The Constitution, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in January of 1865, before the war ended. So slavery ended in our country in January of 1865. But what he wants to do is he wants to say that, look what he says here, the Southern states had to first rejoin the Union and slaves would be free. No, Einstein. The Southern states were not allowed to rejoin the Union until they rewrote in their state constitutions that slavery was banned. They were forced to stop slavery by the Union troops, which were, oh, by the way, in the South for 12 years after the Civil War, 11 years, all the way up to 1876.
Now, he's a Texan. He should know all about Juneteenth. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I read this stuff and it just absolutely infuriates me, where people try to parade themselves as being, listen, Brainiac, you didn't know that, and the kid's going to say here, as a history teacher, what did you say that? As a history, anyway, it says in here, as a history teacher, you should know this. As an American, you should know different. You shouldn't be so stupid. Oh, here it is. As a history teacher, you should know that. Slavery still existed despite the new law. Okay.
It wasn't a law, it was a constitutional amendment. That's
exactly. There's a big difference. Why didn't they just pass a law during the Civil War? They had, all of the southern states, their representatives were gone, their senators were gone. Why didn't they just pass a law? They couldn't. They had to pass a constitutional amendment, and that's what they did. Let's go back and read a little bit further. It says the blacks in the South had to escape southern plantations and head north to be emancipated. No, that is so stupid. They did not have to go north to be emancipated. They did go north and they did go west to avoid discrimination, but not to be emancipated, don't you see? Now, there was something that came about years after Reconstruction and the Union Forces occupation of the South, called peonage, where they would charge African-American men with stupid little crimes, throw them into prison, and then while they're in prison, they would use them as forced laborers, enriching the prison wardens and people and plus getting good discount labor for the people that they worked for. But it was not slavery. But they did, and I'll admit, they did. And this is something that I did teach in my history class. Oh, by the way, evidently you didn't pay attention in yours, and you would really have done yourself a favor if you would have come and sat in one of my history classes. Maybe we could have a live stream where I could teach you a little bit. Anyway, let's get back to this this thing where he says here, TDR grew up in his early years with his family still having slaves. I don't even know if that's true, but I really don't care, because your initial statement was that Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt owned slaves. Now look what he says down here.
It's not true, because Teddy Roosevelt lived in New York State.
Exactly.
I mean, could he have just looked this up? Of course he could.
Googled it, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So look at what he's got to get in here. You love defending bigots, don't you, bigot? So let's take a look at what his book does say, shall we? Let's just take a couple. I took one for the guys. I read the first, I think it was like 70 some odd pages.
Oh God.
I know.
God bless you.
When I say penance, You know, I had to get a PayPal account like Steve has and have you guys send me my thank you, Eric, for doing that, you kafir. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at page 2, shall we? Yes, we shall. So page 1. Now, keep in mind, the 4 people on Mount Rushmore are George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, let me see here. So when we look at those 4 presidents, let's just discuss those 4 presidents just for a second. Teddy Roosevelt didn't own slaves. Abraham Lincoln, oh, by the way, is known as the great emancipator. I didn't know if you were aware of that, but look up the word emancipation. It means to free people from bondage. So one of them that you're bemoaning, whose character is on a rock in South Dakota, is known as the one who freed the slaves. Now, what about the other 2? The other 2, George Washington. I dropped my pen here. Hold on, sorry. George Washington is known as the father of our country. So we should not have his face on a rock in South Dakota. Being the father of the country, brought us through the Revolutionary War, helped form our country. No, can't have that. Thomas Jefferson, slave owner, true. Washington, slave owner, true. Was slavery accepted back then? I wouldn't say universally, but it was accepted. But who else owned slaves?
Muhammad.
No. Did he?
Muslims.
Oh.
The Caliphate. All Muslims
I hate it when that happens. Right. Okay.
Slaves are openly traded.
Didn't he sell 2 black slaves?
We also
for 1 white
know
slave?
about Tipu
I got a video on that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. We're gonna get to yours, Rad. I
was just saying one quick thing. Do you know about the East African slave trade? That was pretty horrendous too. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
well,
but it was
it's
really,
20 million,
really bad.
29 million versus 12 million. 12 million went west to the Americas. 29 million went east to the Arab countries. Yes. And plus, they had 90% of them died along the way. Why? Because when they castrated men, they just didn't castrate the men; they cut the whole thing off. And the majority of the time, they were infected and ended up dying. The women, oh my God, the women, well, they got to serve as sex slaves when they finally reached their destination. So let's just, okay, where was I at? I was with Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, 3rd president of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence. You know, the guy that says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know that guy. All men are created equal. You never thought that would have been a tenet.
He actually says more in the original. I have that
right.
up, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And he was not able to set his slaves free because it would have been more problematic for them. Okay, I just want to make sure we understand Jefferson, who he was. He's the one that gave our country the Declaration of Independence. He is the one who articulated the mission statement for this country. Now, does that mean everybody followed it? No. But think about what happened. And this is what he doesn't know. Why? Because he is a moron. Right after the Declaration of Independence was signed, the 13 colonies uniting together to become one country, 7 of those 13 colonies banned slavery. Oh, what? Look it up. 7 of the original 13 colonies, right after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, banned slavery. Why? Because slavery was being forced on the colonies, even though some of the colonies wanted it. Let me make sure you're perfectly clear here. Those southern colonies were making snot gob oodle buckets of money off of slavery, but the ones in the north, the northeast, they weren't making any money off of slavery, and slavery was very rare there. But they were forced to keep it, even though their state assemblies prior to this voted to ban it. And the king said, no, I'm going to veto that ban. But everything that he says about this country, our country in this, and we'll probably have more time to do this on Tuesday also, because the hatred that this guy has for our country, because it's always them evil European colonists, don't you? Damn evil European.
He is one of them. He is one of them. Why doesn't he give up the land to the Indians? Why doesn't he give up any land that he lives on or works on to the Indians?
I have actually the land that we ought to give that back to Mexico because we took it from the Mexicans, don't you see? In 1846, 1847 is when they signed the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
I think Connie would have something to do with that. Say something against that, giving up Texas. But
Connie, you want to give up your house, give it back to the country of Mexico? Connie.
Anyway.
Okay.
You know what? Let me get into this because you brought up the Declaration of Independence. If I can, a lot of people don't know this, okay, unless you're a history buff or a history teacher. But when Thomas Jefferson wrote the original Declaration of Independence, they had to vote on each bullet point, and they had to be all 13 colonies had to be in complete, total 100% agreement. In other words, if one colony voted against any bullet point because it was an indictment, it was an indictment that they were indicting the king on. If one representative of the colonies voted against it, that bullet point was stricken. Okay, but here's what he has in the original, okay, wording that was stricken from it because of one colony voted against. I think it was Maryland, but I could be mistaken. He has incited. He, that would be King George. Pay attention, Dominic. This is your king. Anyway, he is indicted. He has indicted treasonable insurrections in our fellow subjects with all the no. Here we go. He has waged. Actually, let me share this.
Yeah, he has forced people from foreign lands on. Or yeah, I've seen this. Go ahead.
Okay,
yes, I want you to share this. Share this. Now, keep in mind, this was it. There's a list of grievances in the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence isn't all that flowery language. It's a list of grievances against the King of England. And it was revised, and this one that Rad is going to show right here was revised out of it.
Okay, you sharing it? You guys see it?
Yep.
He the king has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating them and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation thither. This piratical warfare, this opprobrium of infidel powers, is the warfare of the Christian king of Great Britain, determined to keep an open market when men should be bought and sold. He has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain this execrable commerce, and that this assemblage of horrors might want no fact of distinguished die. He is now exciting those very people to rise up in arms amongst us and to purchase that liberty of which he has deprived them, and murdering the people upon whom he has also obtruded them, thus paying off former crimes committed against the liberties of one people with crimes which he urges them to commit against the lives of another. Now, take a look at this. Couple key bullet points. First of all, he laid slavery directly at the feet of King George. Okay, and as you mentioned, I believe you mentioned, Eric, the colonies had tried to outlaw slavery several times. And this is what he's talking about. The king would overrule that and say, no, you cannot outlaw slavery because the king is making too much money off the slave trade. You know what I mean? He can't have a
think of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was founded by Quakers, for crying out loud. They're not going to have slavery in Pennsylvania, but it was forced on them.
And this is Thomas Jefferson writing this, and it was overruled. Definitely one, but maybe another one of the colonists who were big in the slave trade, of course, so they had to strip it. But think about this: here we are trying, even as colonies, our ancestors, okay, that formed this nation, okay, in several states, were trying to outlaw slavery when they were just colonists because it was a horrendous thing that they were doing. Okay. In the meanwhile, in the Ottoman Empire, slavery was booming. Nobody was outlawing slavery. And this is another thing people don't understand. I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay. Here's another thing. Why all this was going on, Kenny. Okay. Your great Caliph in the Ottoman Empire, the golden age of Islam, blah, 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 blah. They was out thriving, stealing, going on slave hunts, slave capturing. They were selling us the slaves. Okay, all right. Muslim tribes were capturing other tribes, in Africa and selling them to us. All this stuff was being fueled by, well, evil King George, obviously, as well as Muslim slave traders. This was big business. And here's a little fun fact for you, Kenny. Okay, Islam never outlawed slavery. As a matter of fact, the Ottoman Empire never officially outlawed what's called black slavery. They never did. Now they did in like the 1880s, I believe. Okay, because they did outlaw white slavery, which, by the way, Kenny, that's where we get the English word slave from. Did you know that? Because they were from the Slavs, because they were always going in there and raping, pillaging, plundering the Slavs. Okay, I don't know why they hated those people so much, but they did. Evidently, Slavic women are very beautiful to Muslim men, which I think they're very beautiful anyway. But that's beside the point. Okay, no, seriously. Okay, they under pressure. Now we outlawed the United States of America through bloody civil war, outlawed the slavery. Okay, in 1865. True, before this, Great Britain had outlawed slavery, but not really. They outlawed slavery in England, but nowhere in their territories or what do you call it, colonies. Slavery was now outlawed. Okay, they still allowed it to persist, and they also restricted. They said that you could not get new slaves, but you could still breed them like animals, I believe. Okay, so that was perfectly fine for them. Okay. But it wasn't until America, through a bloody civil war, completely and totally abolished slavery, that the tide was starting to turn. Okay, and Western empires, especially in Europe, okay, were really hammering the Ottoman Empire. One, first of all, to stop the white slavery traffic, and two, also stop the African slave trade. Okay, the Ottomans and the Europeans, they made a deal. Ottoman Empire kind of got rid of, kind of the white slavery, but they never got rid of the African slave trade. You know what they did do? Okay, the Ottoman, I forgot the name of the Sultan or the Caliph. He just made a decree that only the Caliph could call for slave hunts. Okay, and then he just never called for slave hunts. But go ahead.
Let me just add something to that. A lot of people don't know this, but if you look in the United States Constitution, the Constitution itself banned the importation, the slave trade, the international slave trade in 1808. It was supposed to be 20 years after the ratification of the Constitution. So the Constitution was ratified it was actually ratified in 1787. So 1787 and 1807, you could no longer import slaves into our country. Slavery was on its last leg in North America in 1776. Well, maybe 1776. By the 1790s, the only thing that saved slavery in our country or made it more popular was the invention of the cotton gin and the demand for cotton with the Industrial Revolution. But of course, he's an author. He's an Einstein. I mean, he's this wizard of smart. He should know these type of things, but no, you just don't find that in his books.
But I want to play a video here. Well, that's pretty much it. Slavery was never outlawed in the Ottoman Empire. As a matter of fact, there is a picture. You can look it up. I forgot to do it. You can look. It has Lawrence of Arabia along with the Sheriff of Mecca. Okay. Along with the Sheriff of Mecca and a black guy standing behind him. That black guy is identified as the Sheriff of Mecca's African slave. This was at the signing of the Versailles Treaty in 1920, whatever it was, 1921, I believe. Somewhere around there.
The Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, Treaty of Versailles.
1918.
Really? I thought it was later. No. No, the actual treaty, the signing of the treaty, that took time. That was, I think, it was 19. Well, we'll look it up. I'm not going to argue with you. That was it. Yeah. Anyway, either way, but there is a picture you can look up: Lawrence of Arabia, Sheriff of Mecca, an African slave, and you'll see it. He's identified in the picture, and they're outside of Versailles during the whack-a-mole job that was the Treaty of Versailles. But anyway, let me play this little video. This is from David Wood.
Oh my God. How long is this?
No, I'm only going to play certain, like 5
okay.
minutes. Okay. I got it all set. Oh, no, don't want to do that. Share screen. And this one I do want audio. Chrome tab. There we go. There you go. Can you all see it?
Yes.
No, sir, not yet.
Well, give me a second. The capture's not fast enough. There we go. All right.
Make
now
it bigger.
I'm on the draw.
Oh, there's that handsome guy.
Here we go. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
72:63. Narrated Umar, I went to the house of the Prophet, and behold, Allah's messenger was staying in a mashraba, and a black slave of Allah's messenger was at the top of its stairs. I said to him, tell the Prophet that here is Umar bin al-Khattab. Then he admitted me.
What color was the slave?
Sahih al-Bukhari, 61:61.
Slave.
Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's messenger was on a journey, and he had a black slave called Anjasha, and he was driving the camels very fast, and there were women riding on those camels. Allah's messenger said, Waihaka, O Anjasha, drive slowly the camels with the glass vessels, i.e.
What color was the slave?
Here's one about a black slave who was shot to death while unloading Muhammad's luggage.
I love this one.
3858. It was narrated that Abu Huraira said, we were with the messenger of Allah in the year of Khaybar, and we did not get any spoils of war except for wealth, goods, and clothes. Then a man from Banu ad-Dubayb, who was called Rifa bin Zayd, gave the messenger of Allah a black slave who was called Middam. The messenger of Allah set out for Wadi al-Qura. When we were in Wadi al-Qura, while Middam was unloading the luggage of the messenger of Allah, an arrow came and killed him. The people said, congratulations, you will go to paradise. But the messenger of Allah said, no, by the one in whose hand is my soul, the cloak that he took from the spoils of war on the day of Khaybar is burning him with fire. Just to clarify, Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, robbed caravans, and beheaded hundreds of Jews, but he's good. His black slave, by contrast, grabbed a cloak before the spoils were divided, so he's headed to hell. Welcome to Islam. In Provisions of the Afterlife, pages 30 to 31, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah lists 28 of Muhammad's male slaves and 12 of his female slaves. Some of these slaves were black, some were not. Muhammad renamed one of his black slaves Safina, which means ship. Called his slave Ship because he would load up the slave like a ship and make him carry everything. Muhammad apparently thought that black slaves were worth less than Arab slaves, since he once traded 2 of his black slaves for an Arab slave he wanted to set free because the Arab slave had converted to Islam. We know that Muhammad had sex with his female slaves because he eventually got one of them pregnant. Don't worry, a white leader getting a slave girl pregnant is only creepy when Thomas Jefferson does it. Speaking of leaders, mindlessly obeying Muslim.
There you have it. I think David Wood said it best of all there. There's your prophet, Kenny. So if you're going to come talking about our country, the founders of our country, who were on a set path to end and destroy slavery, and eventually did. By the way, George Washington freed all his slaves upon his death, and his wife Martha then freed them as well because
doesn't that make Muhammad a bigot?
But yeah. Exactly, a bigot and racist. Your religion, Kenny, not just the nation, Kenny, but your religion, Kenny, was founded by a bigot and a racist and a slave owner.
Yes.
Who did not end slavery like Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, who never owned any slaves. He was an abolitionist, Kenny. Okay, and Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, never owned any slaves either. So his mother, on some family members on his mother's side, might have owned slaves before he was born. Okay, all right, that doesn't make him a slave owner, Kenny. All right, man, dude, seriously, your editor should be fired. You should be fired.
Yeah.
Never write a book again, dude, because it's this horrible. Please don't put Eric through this again, dude. We hate doing it, but you know it has to be done.
Well, we'll expound on this a little more on what's in this book on Tuesday, but let me just give some type of it's just so hypocritical of him to sit there and pounce on the history of the United States when you say, okay, slavery was brought to the United States by European colonists. This is true. It did. And did that lead to the suffering of millions of people? Yes, this is true. It did. Do we teach our kids in classrooms? Yes, we do. That it brought immeasurable suffering to millions of people. Were the Native Americans mistreated by European colonists? Yes, they were.
Yes, my people
were. Fair that they were? Was it fair that they were mistreated by the colonists or these European colonists? No, it wasn't. But these are the facts of history. But the only time that it is problematic when slavery is practiced by European or is practiced, it's when it's practiced by Europeans. You know, those Native American cultures that had European culture imposed upon them. Did you know that they practiced slavery also? Did you know that when they enslaved people, that they would use them as sex slaves also? Did you realize this? Did you realize that they would use them as human sacrifices also? Did you realize this? Did you realize that the majority of the Native American tribes that existed in Central and South America hated the Aztecs, hated the Incas? Why? Because they were subjugated by them. Now they're just being subjugated by Europeans. So the only time it's fine when they're subjugated is when the Europeans do it, right? Did you know
they were
that
also cannibals?
I was just going there. There were some Native American tribes that practiced cannibalism to intimidate their enemies.
Actually, it's worse than that. It's actually worse than that. Remember Tacoma? Okay, who was the guy in not Tacoma? He had a prophet or whatever. Tecumseh led that name, right? This is War of 1812 guy. Anyway, no, there was one of them. I can't think of the name. But
his brother was called the prophet. His brother was
the prophet, yeah.
Right.
But the brother was a student of this other guy. I can't think of it. Disney did it anyway. But no, they used to literally not the Shawnee. One of the tribes here in Illinois, they used to actually practice cannibalism, not just to do the intimidated. They used to hunt people for food. Okay, they would go on hunting part. No joke, dude. And this dude, they tell the story. He was cooking up some dude that he had captured, and he was cooking up in a pot. And then he converted, and he went out, and he actually got them away from cannibalism. So that's a good thing. Okay, but anyway, then he went. Yeah, I'll have to look that up for you. It was a very interesting story.
Well, the European culture that was imposed on the Native Americans stopped the tribal warfare. It did do that indeed. And the Native American culture that was imposed upon the European culture that was imposed on the Native Americans stopped them from being semi-sedentary and what's they called when they move around all the time? That's non-sedentary. Not sedentary.
Nomadic. Nomadic.
There you go. Nomadic. Okay, so now they have a steady food supply because now they are sedentary. They have cities that provides a common defense, and they are able to do all these things. Now, granted, and we teach this to our students, that there are awful things that were done during this time period. That does not mean that we're saying, it's all right that they did that. That's just what happened in history. Now, when you start running your yip about, well, we shouldn't be celebrating what our forefathers did to establish this country, I'm wondering what we should celebrate. Do you think that we should put the face of Muhammad on Mount Rushmore? Why not? I mean, we carved Muhammad's face. I mean, he brought this great religion to 1.8 billion people after all. Number one, if we put his face on Mount Rushmore, the jihadis would blow it up. I mean, they go, we can't have a character of Muhammad. No, they wouldn't do it. So we couldn't get away with doing that to begin with. But more importantly, before you start pointing your finger at American history and start bemoaning the persecution of people a century ago, 2 centuries ago, 3 centuries ago, perhaps you ought to start focusing on who you promote. And that is Muhammad. And when Rad started stating all these facts about Muhammad, every single one of them was true. When David Wood made that video, every single one of those facts is indisputable. He was somebody who enslaved people. He was somebody who practiced slavery. He kept slaves. He sold slaves. And he raped slaves himself. And you know what? His followers did it too. Why? Because he did it. But yet here in the United States, we can pass constitutional amendments. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution says, this isn't the right thing to do to practice slavery in our country. And we changed that. And then those very slaves that were not being given equal rights in the South, guess what? We passed the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, granting them citizenship and full protection under the law. And then when they realized that, hey, they're not being allowed to vote, guess what? We passed the 15th Amendment to the Constitution, extending the right to vote. And you know what happened after that? African Americans were voted into Congress, into the United States Senate. I wonder why that's not in your book. Well, we know why it's not in your book. All right, guys.
And every one of them was a member of the Republican Party.
Oh yeah, we're not. Yeah, we even go there. You know, the party of the Klan. Well, that or the party of slavery. Yeah, that was the Democratic Party. The party of the Klan and Jim Crow. Yeah, that's the Democratic
Democrat Party.
The
All
party
Democrats.
that,
So Kenny votes for Kenny
yeah,
votes for the Democrats. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, real
and
quick correction. It was Hiawatha. I got the Tecumseh.
Hiawatha. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Hiawatha.
Yeah.
The dude's name was the high priest or whatever was the Gawanda. He actually the name. Okay, he actually convinced Hiawatha to go away from converts Hiawatha to get away from cannibalism. But no, these are Iroquois. They would no. This is what they're famous for. They actually hunted people for
Well, this
food.
is Great Lakes region.
Right.
American tribe. Okay, the one that I'm thinking about is Tecumseh. Tecumseh led the Confederation of Indians against.
They came out of that.
States.
Yeah, he came out.
No, he lost. He got killed.
Well,
he got killed by
he
William Henry
definitely got
Harrison.
killed. But no, but I'm saying no. He was part of that great nation or whatever. He was one of the lesser tribes, from the Iroquois, the Gandhi, the whatever. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay.
But no, it was later. It was centuries later. Decades later, whatever. Anyway. But yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and close it up for the day. We'll continue this little critique of the book next Sunday. We'll go ahead and see if we can get Yaya back here. Yaya, if you're watching, I did go in there and change the parameters. I don't know why. Mods, when Islam Defender and what's the Sayed, Sayed, whatever, he comes, let him comment in the chat. As long as he's not blaspheming Christ, I let him say what they feel they need to say. I don't want to act like somebody that's a dictator, like some Muslims do. Don't let you. As soon as you start commenting in their chat, they ban you.
Let the Muslims use it as evidence. I mean, we think of us. We are police officers. We want the criminals to confess. So let them talk.
Yeah, let them do that on their own. Okay, everybody, thank you for coming today. I wish Yaya would have had a better connection. That would have been that. Trying to interact with the guy is fun, but if you can't understand what he's trying to say, it makes it a little difficult. Anybody else got anything to say for the team? Dominic, you got anything you want to add today? It's got to be late there. What time is it there? It's what 10 o'clock?
Yes, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, but he's young. He's not old like us that are in bed by 8 or 9.
Stop telling. They're giving away our secrets. Isa, you got anything to add?
Perfect. Thank you. I do have something to think about. I think it's interesting. Should we take the position?
You sound like you're in a garbage can. Isa, you sound.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you sound okay. Go ahead. Let me turn down my. Okay, go ahead. It's all right.
Sorry. I think the thing we should think about is the concept of generalization. Should we generalize all Europeans as one continuum, and all indigenous people or Native Americans or American Indians, whatever term you want to use, as one continuum? Or are these different concepts? Do we want to throw the baby out with the bathwater? We can look at the former, at the President Thomas Jefferson, President Washington, or any of these presidents who may have had certain beliefs that may not fit into modern perspectives. Do we throw them all out? Do we discard them because there's something that we don't agree with them with? If we do take this purist perspective, I argue what happens is there will be no person that we can really engage, because there's always going to be some kind of flaw that we're going to find, and we're going to throw everything out unless we take a hypocritical standard and we don't actually fully critique a person that we might lionize, right? We lionize one person, then we find a little flaw or some flaws that another person has and condemn that person, but are not actually sincere and consistent with the person that we are lionizing. So I think it's really important to not generalize. It's also important to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's my.
But don't you think that the words of the Imam in that email, or in his book, you Trump supporters, is generalizing people as being?
I do think so. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think
anybody that supported
to,
Trump is a bigot, according to him.
I think that we can critique any person in the political spectrum, and it doesn't matter. The point is, you can find fault with any political figure on any side of the aisle, and that's not the important. Like, for example, let's say you take a position of isolationism, like you don't believe that America should go into different places or your country should go to different places. If that's your value, then you might choose a certain candidate based on that premise. You know, does that make you an evil bigot because that person might have other views? It's an insane proposition. Of course.
Well, this is where the
American,
the tone of American politics has gotten to. Right, I agree. Let me address one thing here. It sounds French. I'm sorry. I put it up on the screen. I want you to join. I want you to join too, but the show's over. So if you email me, we have a show twice a week. We have it here on Tuesday evenings at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you email me beforehand, I'll send you the link to the show, and we'll bring you on. And I see a whole bunch of other people have joined us also. Okay. Thank you for that, Isa. Okay. Dominic, were you trying to say something earlier? You were going to say something, and I just kind of cut you off. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
It's fine. I was just kind of talking. He was always trying to he was always trying to divert from the subject. It was like, that's what I was finding here.
Who, Yaya?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you're right. You know, trying to keep him on topic is difficult. I get that.
And he wasn't showing Islamic Quran anything. He was just jumping on the Bible.
Well, that's all they've got.
Yeah. To criticize the Bible. If the Bible's wrong, then Islam has to be true, right? It's the argument. You know, your book sucks more than ours. That's basically the argument, and it you're right. It doesn't work. Connie, did you have anything that you wanted to add before we go?
Nope, that's it. Perfect.
All righty, my sister.
That's why I was trying to get him to do a positive case for Islam, because essentially, as soon as he quotes from the Bible, his case is literally just against him. As soon as he quotes Jesus quoting from the crucifixion, his case is null and void, because essentially he had stating that's historical evidence. So as soon as he uses those sources, it's like kind of.
Well, but you notice what he said. He goes, "Oh well, you go to the crucifixion, and that's the biggest thing." Well, yeah, it's the biggest thing. It's the central point of Christianity, is the crucifixion of Christ. And you always jump on there. We always deny the crucifixion. Yeah, hello.
Well, and Moses. God told Adam and Eve and the serpent that the seed of the woman would come and he would die. He would crush the head of the serpent.
Yeah, and we did that 2 weeks ago when we said that.
So this is Moses. This is Moses.
This simple guy. I'm sorry, we're not bringing you on today. I get that, but we're wrapping up. All right. Let's see here, Paul. Do you have anything that you want to add in here before we?
I want to say thank you to Dr. Kabir, because the talking about the generalizations, I would add one more generalization that I have a difficulty with. My family came on the second Mayflower. Okay, so how long does it take before you become a member of a country? How long before I am considered a native? So you think about that. My family's been here for over 400 years. Thank you.
All righty. And Rad, the co-moderate. Did you have anything that you want to add, or are you away from the mic? He's probably away from the keyboard. You know, he's you know what this guy does? He cooks this, I don't even remember what it was yesterday, and then he sends you pictures of it to rub it in. Oh, look what I'm eating, and you're not having any. Ha ha. Just delete them.
Well,
all right.
He copied from me because we were cooking a meatloaf for my family here, and so he, joined in. So sometimes what I do, Brad does.
I'm salivating looking at this thing that it was. What did he make? What was that?
He made a steak. A steak.
Whatever it was, it just looked absolutely delicious. Okay.
Wait. No, that wasn't a steak. That was prime rib.
There we go.
Perfectly done.
Oh, I stand very much corrected. That was delicious.
You're going to put it in a chili.
Oh,
Is
no,
that
no,
all I-
leftovers.
Oh,
leftovers
no.
no, leftovers is going into chili. 'Cause,
Exactly.
no, that was perfect.
All right.
Melt in your mouth like butter. It was just, yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to cut it off for the day. Thank you for coming. This guy, what was his name? He said that he emailed me. Okay, I don't have my email up. I'll
Yes,
email you
you
back.
will,
I'll give you
Rob.
the link for the next show. And if you want to come at the beginning of the show, we can have a conversation. All right. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Happy New Year. I'm not going to get into it, but I was just going to say some of the things that we were studying in church this morning was speaking about being more faithful to what we do here, and that is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, share it with other people, show the love and compassion that we have as Christians, as Christ commands us to do. So God bless you. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you.
Let's go, Brandon. There.
We'll see you next Sunday or this Tuesday, 5 p.m. on the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. God bless.